Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Howard Company's Branding, Signage, and Technology podcast. My name is Brian Ward. Before we jump into today's topic, I just want to introduce our guests. So we're with Tosia and Luke from our design department. Do you guys want to kind of give a taste of what you work on specifically, what your kind of skills are as far as design work?
Sure. I can go first. My name is Tosia. I am a designer here at the Howard Company. So I mainly work with the customers kind of hand in hand as to like what they need in terms of a design for the drive-thru. I also work in our CMS system, Navori. So I handle all the content managing in terms of setting up the graphics for the customer, all that good stuff. So,
my name is Luke. I am the design manager here at the Howard Company. I deal with this guy as well as a bunch of other designers, part of our department. And it's kind of the same thing as Tosia, working with customers on a daily basis, getting content over to us to either set up for them or for us to create anything from scratch, based off a couple guidelines or whatever. A lot of different things, a lot of creative people in this department, so it's fun to deal with it all. So, yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So today we're talking about how does content and the design work that these two work with customers on, as well as some of the Howard Company solutions, help make the customer ordering process easy for them. So some of the features might lead to a fast experience, helping you get customers in and out of the drive-thru, through the lines quickly, but I mostly just want to have a conversation around making it an easy experience for them. They're not overwhelmed. It's a breeze. So there's a few different aspects of this because we work with indoor, outdoor, digital, static. So as far as, let's talk about the content first, the design work. For both drive-thru and indoor. What are some of the features that might stand out to make an easy ordering experience?
Yeah, I think one thing that really is like just driven into our heads whenever we're creating any sort of menu design is legibility and readability when it comes to the menus. When we're looking at fonts, if you're going to be 5 feet away, if you're going to be 10 feet away, depending on how the drive-thru is, or even when you're looking up at a, over top of somebody's head in a counter or something like that inside a store, you want to be able to read everything you got there. So if it's going to be a big promotion, obviously that's pretty easy to make that look nice and flashy and, legible. But when we're getting to the specifics of, okay, what is in a Cobb salad? What's in this kind of burger? It's like you're getting real small. So we want to make sure that we have that level of understanding when it comes to font, just sizes. So I think we have a 27-point font. It's kind of that average for us. I think for print, it's going to be a little bit more. What is that, 32?
Something like that, yeah.
So within that range, 32 to 27-point font, I think is kind of that nice little, sweet spot when it comes to anything like that. That's something super specific, but when we're talking about, formatting a ton of text, it really turns into something a lot more important if you're just trying to format text when you had a big old menu that somebody provides us.
Yeah.
Oh, here's 40 items. Put it all on 2 screens. I'm like, all right, it's a fun time. And it's a little tricky, but we make it happen because we follow those guidelines.
Right.
So that's a really important thing for us to, get across, because everyone wants a nice flashy menu, nice looking thing. But, you also want to be able to read that flashy nice menu.
Yeah. I think it's especially important. It's like drive-thru versus indoor. With the drive-thru, you're going to be closer to the board. So I think because it's going to be a drive-thru, we can kind of play around with the font even more, make it smaller if we need to. Whereas if it's indoor, you're going to be 6 to 12 feet away from the indoor board. So I think that's going to be more important in making that a little bigger so you can be able to read it from afar.
For sure.
And I think in terms of kind of going off of font, I think another important kind of aspect of design is pictures. I feel like if you go to a drive-thru and all you see is text, you can sit there and read it, but if you want to make it easier for the customer, especially if they can just see like a picture of a burger that that looks great, I'm gonna get that. So I think adding pictures especially is important for the customer experience.
I don't know, graphic design, I kind of like just looking at work. It's a little more fun like that. No,
Right.
Pictures are huge. I mean, you don't want a ton of them, I
Right.
think, especially when we're talking about, how efficient it is to look at a menu.
Yeah.
People know what a cheeseburger is. I mean, unless you got a real nice picture of it, it's probably okay to put it in there, but do you need a picture for every single one? Maybe not.
Yeah.
So you want to get in there and get out of there. So you want to be able to read everything. You want to be able to see everything properly. So yeah, that balance of both and formatting it in the way that the customer wants, as well as what a designer sees fit is nice. And we can make that happen.
Yeah.
What about when, in more terms of digital and motion? How much motion is too much motion? I know we had an episode with Kelsey and Jared when we talked about font sizes and some digital components where too much motion is, but as far as making the process easy, sometimes when I'm in a restaurant, I'm like, oh, there's a special, an LTO, and then it goes away in 2-3 seconds, and I'm like, well, now I have to wait for it to slide through again. So in terms of motion, is there any suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking just rotating limited time offer graphics or promotional content, you want to have that, I think that sweet spot, if we're talking a few seconds, maybe 7 to 15, allows the customer to look at it, really scan the whole image, move on.
Yep.
If you miss it, you pull up to that drive-through, it's not going to be forever until it comes back.
Yeah.
And there's a pretty good chance it's going to be on the menu somewhere else anyway when they're combing through it. So, 10, 15, 7, whatever that number is exactly, within that range is pretty okay. And with animations, I feel like, you guys have dealt with that a lot.
Yeah.
Where it comes to, just a little bit of motion when it comes to certain headers, and just driving focal points on the menu, because, any sort of piece of art, while menus are pretty, they're just there, you can get that artwork in there and they can look really nice. But in any sort of artwork you have, there's always focal points. You always want to have, 3-ish focal points in like a piece of artwork.
Yeah.
And it allows the eye to follow to different points and to understand what the person is looking at. Not even just menus. Like this, obviously you want your eye to follow through a menu and be like, okay, we're starting here, the appetizers, get the burgers, maybe the fries, and then drinks, anything else, I don't know. So stuff like that, it's the same thing in any other piece of artwork. You want to look at, what is the idea behind this?
Yeah.
What is the idea behind a menu? To be able to find everything in it.
Yeah.
Go from here to here to here to here, and then out of there.
Is that why you would say too many pictures is bad? It's because it's too many focal points?
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And going off of Luke's point about animation, I wanted to kind of touch him on. Let's say you're at a restaurant and you walk in and there's just kind of too much going on, similar to what we were talking about before. I think adding an animation where it's where you need it. Like, let's say you're trying to promote something for the day, like, oh, this is our LTO for today. Like, add some sort of animation to the text or the picture, like, just to see, like, oh, okay, a customer should look at this first. So similar to exactly what Luke was saying, like, there should be a purpose to adding an animation to a menu board. You can't just add like an animation just to have it there. Like, that looks cool, but at the same time, it's like there's got to be a purpose to it. Like, so
what about not necessarily overcrowding a menu board with content, but too many colors? Does that happen a lot?
I've seen it a couple times. I feel like there's, depending on the kind of business you got, that might be your branding.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not the best choice to put it on a menu. I mean, if you got a bunch of stuff in a logo, like, you don't always have to use every single piece of that within a menu.
Exactly.
I think you'll look at a lot of menus. People tend to do that white background, black text.
Yep.
It's pretty basic. And it works. I mean, it's nothing to discredit that, but that's kind of a simple way of doing it. You can go from that, or you can go to the extreme where it is like, holy cow, what am I looking at anymore? And so I think if you can limit that to a certain amount of colors, like there's like a set of, your primary color, a secondary, and a tertiary color. I feel like that's pretty okay. You follow that within any sort of color wheel anyway.
Exactly.
So you don't want to overload anybody when you're looking at stuff, because it's not the point of it all.
Yeah.
I think what's important with that too is making sure it's kind of consistent throughout all locations. So I think brand cohesion is super important in just recognizing like, oh, this is McDonald's, this is Arby's. So if you go to a McDonald's in one city and you go to a different McDonald's in another city, it's like, okay, I know this is McDonald's because
it's easy to follow.
It's the same structure, it's the same colors, like everything looks the same. So I think definitely it's super important to have brand cohesion throughout all locations. But that doesn't mean you can't change like prices here and there or have like a different LTO at different locations. I think having a consistent menu look is super important in that.
Yeah. Following that across your entire brand. I mean,
definitely.
We talk about menus all the time, but I know a big goal of ours as a just design department is to push more into the marketing space, into how to extend our creative services from the menus all the way to any other promotional, graphics that you, like a customer may have from just inside, outside the store, or just like, print handouts, something like that, social media assets, stuff like that. Everything should be one and the same in a lot of ways. It's, cohesion, like you said. You want to know when you get to a place, oh, I'm looking at this place's menu.
Right.
It's not just a blank slate and just a bunch of text.
Yeah. Another feature I can think of is dayparting, and I think it goes to Luke, your point of you don't have all these menu items if some of them are not being sold.
Right.
So if you guys can kind of hit on that and maybe explain what dayparting is for people who don't know.
So basically, dayparting is, let's say you have items that you want to sell during breakfast time. Like you would have that menu kind of show up throughout, let's say, for example, 6 a.m. to 12. And then from 12 to closing, that would be like a lunch menu. So I think that's especially important because for restaurants or places that do kind of offer that split in between the menus, digital especially allows you to kind of switch the menus at whatever time you would need it to. I think it's especially important because kind of based on the hardware that they kind of purchase with us too. Let's say you purchase a one screen drive-thru. I think it's important to kind of stray away from having the menu rotate from each other, let's say every 30 seconds. Because we have some customers that do kind of have a menu that rotates every 30 seconds, and I think we want to stray away from that just because, let's say they're in the middle of ordering and then it switches to a different menu. I think that can kind of inhibit the customer experience. So we kind of want to just have a menu display throughout a certain set of time. But yeah, that's pretty much that. So I don't know if you had anything else to add to it.
Yeah, with dayparting, I think a main thing with that is, you're working with a breakfast menu and then you're looking at a lunch menu, a dinner menu, or even a late night one. A few customers that got that, and you start looking at what those menus look like, and they're fairly different. They have the same kind of look, but maybe there's like, the AM menu might be a kind of like a more yellowy kind of color for like the morning, and then you get to the like afternoon, it's like a simple white, and then you get to late night, and maybe it's a darker color.
Yeah.
Because when you're out at night and you're in the drive-thru, you don't want to just a bright white just hitting you when you drive up there, and you're like, oh wow. I think I'm looking at the light over there. I'm like, and so stuff like that. You want a darker kind of colored menu. It's a little bit, the palette's a little bit darker, and you're able to, just really see everything, and it's helpful for the customer and helpful to identify, what your menu is. And so, like, if say a franchisee is out there and, my menu's not coming up, it's still the AM, or it's still like the AM or the afternoon menu, it should be the PM menu. Then they could call us, make sure that everything's running properly, and we get it fixed. Something like that. So if maybe a scheduling issue or what have you, we're able to kind of identify that, and it's helpful. And then also at that point too, with more dayparting, have an off hours graphic. So late night's all done. Whenever that ends, then you got a see you tomorrow graphic pop up, and whatever customer it is and their name, and see you tomorrow at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Something like that, and it'll come back on. So
Yeah.
I think that's always a nice thing to have instead of, a lot of the time people will have the menu just go all day, 24/7, which is a thing they can do for
Right.
sure. But I think to, allow everybody to understand that they're closed, they also have black screens.
Yep.
And that's fine as well. You can kind of go from that, or you can do an off-hours graphic. I think just that customization, that level of customization for a menu board is like a really awesome thing to have.
100%.
It's fairly simple to do, and our team does that a lot as well. So
Yeah.
it's helpful.
And how easy is it to daypart, and approximately what percentage of the customers you guys work with utilize dayparting?
I'd say 80% of our customers use
Oh, wow.
dayparting. Usually whenever I train a customer, I like to emphasize the fact that we have that option. And whenever I say that, we have the option to, have off-hour graphics or split this into kind of however schedule you want, they usually opt in for that option to kind of, we close at 9 p.m. Could you have, off-hours graphics play from 9 p.m. to whenever we open the next day?
Yeah.
So I'd say 80% of our customers utilize that feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing to have. I mean, there's no reason to not, unless you have a certain set of guidelines that say otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like most people should.
And it's something easy that our team can do or their team can do.
Mhm.
Correct. And then, just quickly, why is it important to not turn your screens off at night?
I think just because it almost it's like a reset of the screen, and from a design standpoint, I don't know the ins and outs of it all. I know the digital support team is really good about that, but I think these screens really overall are meant to stay on 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hardware in which they're actually built on is supposed to be just running with power, internet, all the time.
Yep.
There's no reason they should be shut off just because that's how they're built. It's not a TV you're going to go get at Walmart. You're not getting a little Vizio and throwing it up on the wall. While some people do that, we can accommodate to that kind of thing. But with our hardware that we provide from Samsung, LG, Peerless, whatever, that stuff is made to stay on, to last.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's all, I think
Commercial
it's...
grade.
Exactly.
Yeah. So kind of going into the hardware and the physical components of the equipment that we provide,
Mm-hmm.
what are some solutions that would help this ease of process for the customer?
There are a few things that I can think of. I think one of the biggest things that we sell that can help out kind of just the transition and the flow of the drive-thru is a pre-sell board. So usually what this kind of hardware is used for is kind of showcasing your LTOs or just kind of like a little preview graphic. Like some of our customers even put like the hours of operation on it, or I know some of our customers put like the flavor of the day.
Yeah.
Or it can be utilized for mostly anything, but it just kind of gives the customer a preview of what to expect on the drive-thru. So that's hence the name.
Yeah, I kind of always have the instance in the back of my mind where there's a family in a van, they're going through a drive-thru, and if there's only the main menu board, it's going to take double the amount of time, if not triple, than if there was a pre-sell board. The kids can start figuring out what they want to order, and obviously, like you said, it's a good opportunity to upsell. So.
Definitely.
You're not yelling from the back seat. No, can't read the menu. You got kids climbing all over each other.
Yeah.
See you right there.
Yeah. Are there any others, indoor or outdoor, that you can think of?
Just for strictly signage, I think, even directional signs.
Yeah.
Those, while they don't really advertise the menu as much, a lot of people just tend to just be like, okay, arrow, drive-through.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it works. That's exactly what they're for.
Mm-hmm.
But in that case, too, if you want, you can really have that brand cohesion within that as well.
Mm-hmm.
We have different varying colors for our hardware for directional signs. We've seen red, we've seen green, black, white, whatever. And I think we're looking at other possibilities and, how we can produce that directional signage. But overall, those graphics that we insert into those kind of boxes can be whatever the customer wants as well. We can follow certain brand guidelines, personalize it certain ways. Sometimes there's certain brands I've seen where they have a little bit more of like a personality with how they describe different things within their menu or marketing or what have you. So those directional signs turn out to be a lot more fun to look at, and they're way more recognizable than just a arrow.
Right.
Like it can be a different custom font. It can be a different custom shape. Their logo on there that also obviously helps people identify what the heck they're looking at.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a small thing, but overall really helps identify where you're at. Brand cohesion, like you keep saying, and just personality within your branding, and that goes a long way, I think, in comparison to just a cookie cutter, another restaurant, whatever.
Yeah, there's definitely some locations where the restaurant's either in a strip mall, they have a drive-through, but we don't, you don't know where the drive-through is.
Right.
So it's like having those directional signs definitely helps. If it's in a busy area with other retail stores around, it's like, where's the drive-through? I know you have one. Where is it? So
I know you have one. Where is it?
It's like it's like trying to find the treasure on a map or something. But yeah, definitely kiosks are another one. I know we mentioned kiosks a lot. But just offering different ways people can order definitely makes it easy and comfortable for them. So, any other thoughts from you guys?
I guess one thing we didn't really touch upon is OCS.
Mm.
I think that's kind of a feature that we have with some of our hardware where it kind of gives you like a list of what you ordered. And I think that's super important, especially for, the workers too, just to kind of make sure that, okay, here's a list of everything you ordered, check it over, see if everything's correct. And that just kind of prevents, people kind of complaining as well after the fact, like, oh, you messed up. I didn't get my shake or I didn't get my fry. That just kind of gives like the satisfaction to the customer. Like, okay, everything on here is correct. I'm able to proceed. So I think definitely adding OCS.
Order confirmation system. For
Yes.
those who don't know.
Yes, order confirmation system. Can be super important too in just kind of keeping that flow of the drive-through. So
Yeah, it's definitely the one that we built here in-house, the Howard Company's OCS, a lot of people utilize that, and it's, another way to really show the customer that, it's reactive,
right?
And it's another way of, really making that customer experience nice and tight.
Exactly.
So you know what you're ordering by the time you get to the window. It's like, well, it was there, so it definitely should be at the window.
Yeah. I have one more follow-up question before we get to our fun question. So going back to kind of where we started of, there's some customers that they give you 40 items and trying to make that fit on a 2-door menu board. What would you say, or how would you approach somebody that is interested in a 2-door menu board, 1-door menu board? They give you 40 menu items. They don't have the budget to go to a 3-door. They don't have that much money to spend. How would you approach that situation? What would you help guide them to make it look nice on a 2-door or 1-door?
Yeah, I would say, I think in a lot of ways, if we're looking at a drive-through, the last thing you want to do is cram and clutter everything because, like I said prior, is you want to be in and out of a drive-through line. To really compress things down, like I said, we've been around the bend a few times with customers like that, so it's definitely doable. But to work around something like that, it's you can look at different rotating pieces. If there's limited time offers and stuff like that that may be seasonal offerings or anything like that, it's a good spot maybe to have those rotate and take up a little bit of space, and maybe rotate through a few menu listings and cut down on that space. Well, instead of having one, you got 3 or 4 kind of in that spot. Other parts, kind of sectioning things off properly instead of having a full list of items. They all blurs together so easily. You've got, you're going from, starters and appetizers, burgers, fries, all kind of going down one list and just trying to make it compact. you lose. You can't follow anything properly. So if you got certain sections, you still it'd be smaller with how many is going or how many menu listings are going on there. But it's a lot more identifiable as to what you're looking at, even though they are pretty small.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more legible. It's a lot more easy to just kind of see and define exactly what you're looking for too.
I've had some experience with customers that we've worked with that want to have the description of the food items on it as well. And it's like,
I was just wondering that.
we could do that, but I mean, we highly suggest that you don't, just because, I mean, a customer wouldn't want to sit there and read every description. If they're familiar with your brand, half the time they kind of already know what they want, Mm-hmm. It's nice to have, but I would suggest even putting, if you really wanted descriptions, even putting that on the indoor boards, just because a customer, has the time to actually walk in there, to kind of look at the menu, to kind of see what they want. But we suggest, for me, it's like, I try and suggest not to put as many descriptions on the drive-thru, just because it does kind of take away from, this is a drive-thru, it's supposed to be kind of quick and speedy.
Yeah.
So kind of just taking it back and maybe just simplifying it if needed, if they really do want it.
And most brands are already putting nutritional information, allergy information, so
caloric counts.
you're just adding more to it.
Exactly.
So. And it eliminates a whole line. It's crazy how a certain just one line of text saves you on space.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're working with a strawberry banana milkshake and you need a description for that, you probably cut out a couple of things and just leave it as the name, because I think we all know what that actually entails.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So now to our fun question. We always do a fun question at the end of these episodes. So, on July 4th, Joey Chestnut ate 70.5 hot dogs in 10 minutes. If you were to enter any food eating competition, which one would you excel at?
I was waiting for you to ask me how many hot dogs I could right now. I was going to be like,
that question.
71. No, I don't know.
I feel like I know my answer, and it would be like probably wings.
Wings.
And like traditional wings, I could eat a lot of those.
Okay. Doesn't it take you a little bit to like get the meat off?
There's like
the
a
bones?
technique to it, though.
You smash it on the
What
table.
sauce or no sauce? For the competition, no sauce.
That's the thing. I feel like it needs to be like slippery enough to kind of ease the bone out of it.
Yeah.
So probably like
Slides
barbecue.
right down the gullet.
Barbecue or something. Because it can't be too spicy where it's like, oh, I can't even eat 5 of these. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So it's got to be something. I'd say like probably barbecue. Maybe even like a dry rub. But yeah, probably wings is my answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like with the meat stuff, like it's gonna be so heavy.
Yeah.
I love mac and cheese, and so I, as a true Wisconsinite, I was gonna cheese.
I feel like pasta is like heavy though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's heavier than wings. And
Everything I think of, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be heavy.
Yeah.
Pasta, donuts.
That's
Lettuce. I don't know.
carrots, sticks.
I'm trying to think of like foods that don't make you as full. I don't think there's like a popcorn eating contest.
Watermelon, I think, would be a good one.
Oh yeah, watermelon. Another good one would be popsicles, even though I've had a bad experience. So my run club, they had a popsicle eating contest. So every lap, you would eat a popsicle, like the frozen, just skinny popsicles.
Okay.
And whoever was the last one left, there was only like a handful of us because not a lot of people want to do it. But I ended up doing like 32 popsicles, and I don't think I've eaten a popsicle since. The amount of sugar and Mom, I hope you're not watching. She'd be disappointed.
My mom would be so proud of me.
That's my boy! Come on, 33! What's the best flavor though that you had?
After a while, it's just like, you just want to be done.
It's just all the same.
That's right. But so. Well, I appreciate you guys joining me.
Of course.
Thank you for this conversation. I think it helps out a lot of customers kind of going through this, and a lot of the topics we talk about in this podcast are very menu board design focused, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize that there's such a science behind it and strategy. So I appreciate it. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
See ya.